Good morning, my name is Specialist Iruli. Today we'll be going over determining a grid azimuth using a military protractor. Today's, with the task conditions and standards we have here displayed. So the task for today is to find a grid azimuth on a map using a military protractor. The conditions today are to using a starting point and an ending point in that order. Use a military protractor on a 1 in 50,000 map to determine a grid azimuth. The standards for today are to plot a starting point and an ending point on a map, draw a line between the points, between the 2 points, and using a military protractor, determine a grid azimuth. So for the day, the risk assessment is extremely low. That being said, please watch out for any tripping hazards. Hazards such as cords, wires, in my case a dog bed over here, boots, etc. Don't want to trip over anything, especially if you're holding a pencil or a protractor or anything like that. Spilling hazards. Please avoid spilling anything over your laptop, your speakers, your maps, your protractors, anything like that. We don't want any of the equipment getting ruined. The restrooms, please, you do not have to raise your hand. You can go to the restroom as you please. We're all adults here. That being said, please use the one that is most convenient to you and try not to disturb too many people on your way out. Lastly, the emergency exits. In the event of an emergency, please use the one nearest to you. In my case, the door to my right would be my closest emergency exit. So that being said, everybody should know where their emergency exit is. Okay, so before we go into the practice phase of this, I'm going to demonstrate with you and walk you through on how to determine a grid azimuth using a military protractor. So, with my protractor that I have here, you will before you even use your protractor, the first thing you're going to do is find your starting points. So with that, you have your 8-digit coordinates, which will lead you to your starting points. So in my case, for this one, it will be my starting point is here. My other grid coordinates have gotten me here. So now we have our starting point our starting point and our ending point. So we have our plots marked. So using the side of the protractor, what you're going to do here is use it to draw a straight line between the starting point and ending point. Make sure to give yourself a little bit of a tail at the end. Just you don't want to draw it directly to the point. Just go draw it and then keep going past it. So I'm going to start a little bit before my starting point, draw right through the starting point, and continue on to my ending point while also leaving a little bit of a tail there. So, what you want to do now is get your protractor, and in the little hole in the middle, which is called the index, you're going to line it up over your first starting point, right there. And after you have done that, you definitely want to make sure though that to make sure you're using your protractor right, you always want to have 0 or 360 degrees will be facing north and 90 degrees will be facing east. So now that we know for a fact that we have our protractor the right way, we're going to do something. Now before we get the grid azimuth, we want to make sure that it is completely parallel and leveled with the other lines. We don't want it scattered to the side or something like that, or kind of north or whatever. So we're going to have it now right there. We're going to be using the inner scale, which is going to show us degrees. The outer scale would show us mil, and that's not what we're looking for. So now that we have that set right here, and my example, my grid azimuth is 85 degrees. Alrighty, so now that we have Sorry about that. So now that you we went through it and we walked you through on how to do it, we're going to go with a practice assessment where you'll then split off into groups and practice finding grid azimuths. In the table in front of you, as you can see that you already have provided, you have maps, protractors, pencils, and paper. So go ahead now, break off to your groups, and we will go ahead and start the practice assessment. Please make sure though that you really are practicing, because after the practice assessment there is going to be a graded portion. So please, in the meantime, ask as many questions as you can. I'll go ahead now and pass out your 8-digit coordinates, so you can go ahead and plot them, and plot your starting point and your ending point. Your 30-minute practice assessment begins now. Okay, 30 minutes is up. Is there any last minute questions? Okay, good. So right now what we're going to do is go ahead and switch the coordinates with another group around you, and then these coordinates will now be used for your graded assessment. Go ahead, and your graded assessment is also going to be 30 minutes. That is going to start now. Okay, congratulations. Everybody passed. So I will go ahead and forward these up to the commander and let him know that nobody is needing to be retested. So what was going to happen now is, before we all take off, we're going to conduct an AAR. So is there anything, any sustains, any improves? Is everybody all good to go? Does everyone know that they're, does everyone feel comfortable about this? Okay, finally, is there any questions? Does anyone have any questions about it? Okay, perfect. So what's going to happen now is you're going to bring up the protractor, pencils, paper, maps. Go ahead and bring them up to the front and put them in the corresponding bin which they belong in. At this point, I will now go ahead and start taking down the classroom. And once again, congratulations. You all passed. That concludes the class. Thank you very much. Have a good day.